And here we are. It's the Friday Fireside. I'm here with Dave Morgan from Simulmedia. We are recording this on Tuesday, June 2nd, and it will air on Friday, June 5th. And Dave and I chatted a little bit, and he'd like to say a few words about what's going on out there in the world. Dave, it's all yours.
So, Rick, thank you so much for having me here. The first thing I want to say is that I'm talking to you from Manhattan, from Lower Midtown in New York City, and it's really important, I think, that we address what's happening out there in the country. I had an all-hands meeting with our entire company today by Zoom because we're working virtual, but I think that what we're seeing, I'm in my mid-50s, is something that is not that surprising to many of us, and I think that we recognize that this is a time to take action. We're actually focusing on a company as what we can do, whether this is Black Lives Matter or what we can do to make sure that that people have appropriate news coverage and all of these things in dealing with COVID. But it's really important that we address these things, and it's something actually we all came together as a company today with everybody in agreement that we're going to do what we can to help deal with some of the inequality issues that are in America today. To give a background, I'm the CEO of Simulmedia. We're a software-based company that brings a digital approach to TV advertising. So the kind of automation, precision, performance attribution that one would expect in the digital world, we bring to national linear TV, really by building a closed loop between actual viewing data on tens of millions of people on a second-by-second basis, of people all across the United States, licensed from cable companies and set-top boxes and TV screens, to bringing real precision and predictive analytics to how ads are scheduled in national linear pods in what's become a massively fragmented world today, but still a massive media world with massive audiences, to being able to measure the impact in real time of ads that are being seen in households and how they're affecting purchase, whether that's at a brick and mortar store, or whether that's someone downloading an app and then optimizing it, and being able to do that with software. We're 12 years old. We have been doing this for many years so far. It's, I think finally the market's really recognizing the opportunity to really bring software, combine what's the magic of the digital software-driven database approach to the massive unparalleled power of linear TV.
Cool. So what has your first and second quarter looked like in working with advertisers? What is this year looking like so far?
Well, it's been an extraordinary year, which I obviously don't need to say too much about. Our first quarter was off the charts. We were up 135% year over year, very profitable. We had an extraordinary pipeline built for the second quarter and the third quarter. And as we approached the end of the first quarter, we lost some business because of some advertisers wanting to cancel or pause, and we picked up a couple because they couldn't get their live sports and they wanted their money redeployed really fast. And we're good at what we'll call smart scatter, get the money out, deploy really efficiently, quickly. By the end of the first quarter, our entire pipeline melted away. Literally 90% of the business that was already booked. And we, like I think any company had to do, you have to release all the advertisers out of the deals. It's the only way to run a business properly. And so it was the scariest beginning of a quarter I've had in my 25 years as an entrepreneur. I know that I've been through the dot-com meltdown and financial crisis and the Russian currency crisis of '97, but it was a pretty scary one. Incredibly, we also went virtual as a company 11 and a half weeks ago, 12 weeks. So that was something we had never done before. Every employee is now working from home. So incredibly, as of 3 days ago, we exceeded our first half 2020 plan that was set pre-COVID on both revenue and profit. We were able to, with the 10-20% of our advertisers that were still open for business in any kind of normal way, many of them grew their spend because they saw an opportunity to grow their business. And so far this second quarter, we now have 13 new clients to the company running their first campaigns.
Wow.
I think that we're, it's an fortunate circumstance to find the silver lining that, we're seeing our market accelerated. The idea that advertisers want to buy TV closer in time with more precision, better digital oriented measurement, measuring it in real time, optimizing it. This crisis is only accelerating that now. And I think that the other thing is that for the large holding company agencies, which have really dominated the national TV ad buying world and distribution world, they all went virtual and they had massive layoffs in their companies. And so they weren't there. So we are up incredibly in spite of starting off the quarter with an empty gas tank.
That's phenomenal. Okay, so now you're accelerating now. That takes us right into the real meat of this, which is every conversation I've had since March has focused on an anticipated third quarter return of a lot of advertising that's been quiet up until now. Auto, certainly, travel, absolutely. Retail, consumer packaged goods, and of course, come Labor Day, a lot of politics coming in. Do you share the assumption that we're going to be accelerating through the third quarter?
I think that as an overall market, I think we're going to see acceleration of some kinds of clients. I would hope that I could say yes. I will say we are talking to some of our travel advertisers about potentially coming back.
Yep.
I will say we've seen a little retail come back. Now, we're a bit of an outlier because we're not sitting in the middle of the market. So if we had to think about what quintile of sort of progressiveness and sort of aggressiveness of the advertisers, I live in that top quintile. So we aren't the place that a conservative advertiser is typically coming to, just by the nature of what we do. So the advertisers we're working with, we are going to see some acceleration in Q3. However, I do think that with essentially 40 million new unemployment filings in the last 2.5 to 3 months, there is no way that we can expect to have the consumer economy in a place to support the kind of spend that would tell us that we would be back to anything close to where we were last year. So I think we will see some acceleration off of some real downs.
Yep.
I think TV is going to do better because some of the money that got pulled out was purchasing sales on Google and Facebook, and that's not going to come back as quickly. But I think we have to be realistic that this is going to be a tough year, all calendar year, for the TV marketplace.
So here's a question. I was having a chat with somebody this morning on the sell side, and there is a feeling from what I'll call the bean counters, where they would like to see a solid late third, fourth quarter as a way to hit the number, right? The 2020 number. And other folks are saying because we might be in somewhat of a seller's market for a while, a month or two, September, October, leading up to the election, there may be more people wanting to buy than we have inventory to sell. And that there would be a temptation to cash out now, follow the bean counters, refill the coffers, and try to get close to the number. And some other folks are saying, you know what? This is the opportunity to bring people in and create partnerships that can lead us into a strong and continued upward growth into 2021. You got an opinion about that?
Yeah, I'm very much with the latter. I think that this is a time that they're going to have to build partnerships and not push too hard on price. I think that it is unrealistic to believe that we are going to see the same kind of demand-supply imbalance that we have seen historically, where fundamentally there's always more money to buy TV than there is TV the way it's been sold. I think there's a belief that because sports is still expected to be a bit scarce, now we're going to see a number of sports coming back in some limited ways, that's suddenly going to take the supply off, but fundamentally people are watching more TV today than they were last year and the year before. So the overall supply is actually up. And I think that with several of the big categories out, it would be a little foolish to go short term. I think this is a time to go long term for TV. I'm obviously very bullish on TV. Our whole business is focused on it. I think that I think all sellers should be focused on the digital first, and not just the direct to consumer, but the companies that are digitally oriented inside, because they have not been in TV, maybe to the extent that they feel there's a little bit of a discount in the market. It gives them an excuse to try it.
Right.
The thing is, because they're fundamentally return on investment advertisers, TV works really well for them. The advertisers that have grown with us are all ones that have ultimately created digital touch point, because they're shocked. They didn't realize how much more effective TV was than Google and Facebook and YouTube, obviously Google property. And so this is the time for TV to win long. TV can win its next few years if it's really smart how it does this year.
I agree with that. And I have some friends down the street at Sinclair that we've had a lot of conversations with. And they tend to believe, now they're pretty well diversified now with Stir, and they've got the regional sports networks, assuming there are sports to play on the regional sports networks, and a lot of broadcast properties. But their sense is, and the guy who's in charge of revenue now, Rob Weisbord, his title is actually head of marketing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not head of sales, it's head of marketing. It is creating marketing environments for their clients and their advertisers.
Yeah, I think this is, if you take a big picture, and I think Sinclair is from my interactions with them, TV is dramatically underutilized and underyielded in terms of its capacity to deliver value for marketers.
Yep.
Some of that is because of how they price and package, which makes it inherently inefficient sometimes, too much over frequency.
Yeah.
Too much focus on average rating point.
Yep.
But if we start de-averaging TV at the spot level and going head to head with digital, which is where my company is living these days, we win all the time. You look at even the streaming, everybody wants to buy streaming. It's 22% of all viewing on a TV screen is streaming, but it's only 3% of the ad load.
Right. Right.
So
there you go. Lots of upside there.
Yes.
Well, listen, speaking of upside, we've actually used up our time. So thank you. I think we have a future that's pretty bright. I tend to agree we are not going to be hitting anywhere close to the number that we thought we were going to hit in 2020. But we're going to start seeing some growth and some positive growth coming up. And maybe this is a time where we can be looking forwards to a 2020-2021 combination environment. And create some real partnerships with our advertisers. So Dave Morgan of Simulmedia, thank you very much. I appreciate your time. And we'll end this, and it'll air this coming Friday.
Welcome. Thank you, Rick, for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Very good. Let me turn this off.